guys. Welcome to episode 130. Happy New Year. I hope everyone's feeling a bit more optimistic about the year ahead. And I hope you guys had a wonderful break, some time away, some quality, relaxing time with family. I know things are a little bit different this year, but that doesn't mean they can't be awesome too. On this episode, Garrett and Kelly are getting caught up, talking a bit about cat hunting with the dogs. And a little bit about boots too. So lots of good stuff in this episode. I hope you guys enjoy it. Sit back, relax, crack an ice cold beer, and enjoy episode 130 with Garrett and Kelly.
Step one, complete. Garrett.
Kelly, how's it going?
Good, man. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
How was the holiday?
It was pretty good considering the whole COVID restraints, but it was good. How was yours?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it was a lot quieter than years past. You're living in the Kootenays there, which is my old hometown, and our family, like Brie and I, both of our families are still there. So typically we're, loading the car, putting everybody in there, driving back in the snowstorm. Some of those drives are pretty horrible. And then, hanging out with family and, both families, and it's always a great time. It can be a little like not as relaxing as sometimes you expect. But this year was a lot different. We stayed at home in Kelowna here, hung out with James, just spent a lot of time with him. And I can't really complain. It's nice to see everybody, but, it was also nice to stay here and kind of actually have a break too.
Yeah, it's kind of nice when you get to slow things down a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And you guys are all close to your family there too, right? So
yeah,
hopefully you had somewhat of a normal Christmas, but it's tough, man.
It's just
tough times.
Yeah. It was good. Yeah. Same thing.
Cool.
Kids and wife. It's nice and quiet. So
awesome. Hey, did you get anything hunting related for Christmas?
I did not, like as gift to myself or a gift from somebody else.
Any of the above.
Any of the above. Yeah. No, I did nothing. Nothing worth mentioning, but how about you? Did you get anything?
No, I did. We got like a little more camping related stuff. It's kind of funny. Like, both the presents that Brie and I kind of got for each other were food related. So I think we confirmed that we both like food. We kind of went down the KitchenAid mixer on her end, and then she got me a cool Camp Chef. It's actually similar to what you have, that Camp Chef Explorer 2-burner stove with like the barbecue attachment and the griddle and stuff. So like when we go out on our camping trips, not even hunting, but just camping, those things are awesome. Actually, I'm pumped to have it in the backyard too, because you can do Euro mounts with them and a bunch of stuff. So it's just cool to have two big powerful burners like that if you want to do a prawn night or whatever. So stoked about that.
Those burners, like when you start them up, it sounds like a turbine jet going. Like it's phenomenal, that thing. And actually, you're going to like this. I bought a pizza cooker for that one. Like the whole artisan.
Oh yeah, I seen that.
So last time I went with my dad and my father-in-law, we were cooking pizzas on it.
Awesome.
And
your pizzas?
Yeah. My father-in-law took a video and he sent it to all his relatives, and they're like, "What? That's not hunting." We're like, "Oh yeah, that's the best part. All the pre-planned meals and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed the manual is pretty like ultra safe. It's like, don't put this 10 feet near any structure. And I'm thinking like, oh, we had this thing like right in the wall tent.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you got to be safe, but I mean, not, don't be stupid and get a big grease fire going. But
so you got you got the two attachments with it. You got the skillet and the
yeah, I did that after actually, because there's Boxing Day sales on. So as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh man, I wonder if there's sales on these two attachments, because I know they're pretty badass.
Yeah, they're unreal.
Yeah, it's I was actually going to take it out this weekend and kind of do like a winter backyard, big breakfast pancake thing on the deck. I'll be out there, in my pajamas and Sorels, just whipping up some pancakes outside. It seems like a good idea.
Oh, the skillet's the best. Every time we go for just like a road hunt for whitetails, we bring that and the skillet just as like a quick little. We find a nice little spot to pull over, and that's to me that's the highlight of the hunt. We'll bring like eggs and bacon and all that. We'll do this great big brunch.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best.
Yeah, I love it. Remember we were on that moose hunt was that last year? No, the year before, 2019.
Yeah.
And we were up on top of that. We made it up on top of that mountain, and everybody rendezvoused there, your dad and a couple other folks, and we busted out the sausage buns and the barbecue sauce, and to get some hot food like that and just chill out for a while, enjoy the view and some sausages. It's always a highlight for sure.
Instead of just go, go, go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a good change in pace.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like you said, for doing Euro mounts, my grandma there, she had this big giant pot that she used to use for canning.
Mm.
So I acquired that, and that's what I've used. Like it fits an elk rack and skull in there pretty good.
Yeah.
And just prop it up.
Not just any elk rack.
Not just any elk rack, yeah. Actually, that trick that you gave me before I did that with using the laundry detergent first to loosen up all the meat on the skull, that worked out really good.
OxiClean.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I stole that off of a video on YouTube, which I can't remember the actual name now. If there is a episode we did way back where it talks a little bit about the process that I use for Mike's. And then I think it was, you're right. It was right about the time you did yours. So there's some good resources out there in terms of like the steps, and it wasn't hard at all. It was just, I noticed, a little bit messy. Like you need to kind of have a place to get the pressure washer out and be able to blow away some of the junk. But your backyard might not be the best.
And that's where I did it, and it was like full of crows the next day.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
But it's worth it. I mean, it's an afternoon. On the other hand, I kind of feel like just paying the $100 to get it done professionally is also worth it.
Oh, is that what it is?
I might just do.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's that expensive, man. I mean, 100 might be a little on the low side, but I don't think it's any more than 2, especially for a deer. So, I would probably just bring mine in and get it done next time. But it's nice to know how to do these things. And it's kind of cool, like when you did it, and like, every time we look at Mike's mule deer, it's kind of like, it's sweet because he got it. It's kind of cool because, I did that for him, and I don't know, it just kind of adds to it.
Oh, and it looks deadly.
Yeah.
And you guys, I think the bracket that you guys used, was that the skull hooker too? Did you guys go with that?
Yeah. Ordered the skull. I actually, we used to have a Wholesale Sports in town, and I think I got it there, but we don't have one anymore. But you can get them online, and they're pretty handy, and they're pretty flexible. Like you can kind of point the angle of the skull in different ways.
Oh yeah, nice.
So you can kind of have it like looking, east-west across the wall, or you can have it like straight up or whatever. So pretty handy. If folks have a lot of things to put on the wall, you can kind of make a little display with a bunch of them pointing different directions or whatever. It's a problem I don't have because, I don't have one thing on my wall. So for folks that think hunting is just about putting things on your wall, I've been doing it for 6 years. I don't have one thing, but I got lots of good food. So
what about that bear skull? What'd you do with the bear skull you shot? Or sorry, the bear you shot?
Well, actually, yeah, you're right. I do have the bear hide. It's actually right beside me here. But that's it. That thing's pretty cool. It's just a light colored bear, cinnamon.
Have you looked into trying tanning your own hides?
No. Have you?
Yeah, I did some dabbling there, and it's pretty labor intensive. I would like to try it just to kind of see what it's all about.
Yeah.
But from all my research, it does look like it takes a lot of work.
Yeah. I mean, you got the space for it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I can't imagine doing it at my place. I'm more in the suburbs and the neighbors are pretty close. I don't know where you do it, maybe in the garage or the basement or something, but
Yeah.
I guess you're not going to do it out in the backyard. But
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know what's involved, but maybe we'll get a spring bear this year. That's the plan anyways. Location kind of unknown, I would say at this point, eh? I think we just have a lot of options in spring bear, but I think it'd be nice to get out and see if we can't get one, whether it's Okanagan, Kootenays, or otherwise.
Yeah, definitely. Even if we can take that opportunity to do some pre-scouting into a place where we might want to hunt ungulates, we can use that as an excuse to get in there and, look for wallows
Do some scouting.
or rubs. Yeah, anything like that.
Have you been out with the dogs lately?
Since our last podcast, yeah, I have. I've been out a few times there. You know what? My mountain lion hunting is not going as well as I thought it would be, but I've been seem to be finding a lot of bobcat lately. Like, put the run on a couple different bobcats, which is great. Like, it's all practice to put them on tracks, so that's ultimately what I'm going for.
Yeah.
But our last adventure there, it was a doozy. Like, I don't know if you want to get into it, but
yeah, man, go for it.
Yeah. Well, I'm always so eager to get out and hunt these things. So it's like, if it's kind of snowing and partial rain, I mean, I don't care what it's doing. Like, I'm just amped up to go hunting. And that day it was like just pretty much rain. I was like, I don't care, I'm going. So I took the dogs and went, which I probably should have been like, it's not looking that good. Maybe I'll just throw in the towel and take a mulligan on this one. But I went out anyhow, like, put on all the gear, grab the rifle, go out, get the dogs. And everything was going good, but we got and my wife came too, which is, I love it when she comes, because it's, doing it as a family. We got out there and the dogs are doing good. And then we got into this spot and they found like this, I think it was a dead rabbit, like half an eaten dead rabbit. But, which I was pumped. I was like, all right, that's good. That's a fresh kill. There's probably a cat around there somewhere. But the one dog got a hold of it and he was trying to choke it down. And I was trying to pry his mouth open and pull the rabbit out of it. Like I could see the leg dangling out of his mouth. I was like, oh.
So like a pelican.
So I was like, oh, that's not good. So I pulled the thing out of it. I caught the dog and then I pulled the leg out. But then he had this other chunk of meat and he was still, you know what I mean? Dogs. He's still trying to swallow the thing as I got my hand down his throat and I'm trying to pull this thing out. I'm like, I get the thing out, put it up in the tree, and it's, he's doing circles around the tree. Anyways, he calms down. Then we start trying to look for this bobcat track, and then I'm like, well, where's the other dog? And then of course I look at my GPS, and the other dog's he's on a dead sprint, like kilometers away from us. So it's like
going out like further or back home?
Going back like in the complete opposite direction. So I was like, oh well, there's the end of that hunt. So
yeah.
And then the few other times I got out, it's kind of been the weather here's it hasn't been really the greatest. Like, we got it's
been warm.
Yeah.
Warm winter.
Yeah. We got a whole pile of rain, lots of snow up in the mountains, but down below it's just been raining. Today's like, actually yesterday was all right, but today was like one of the first days, like there was no precipitation. So still getting out, not finding as much, but I mean, battling with the weather. So I'll get out any chance I get. So
yeah, good. Well, yeah, it has been a really warm winter, and that's I do want to get back there at some point, and part of what makes this a little even more, like, in addition to COVID, is like you said, you got to go when the weather is conducive to that kind of hunt. So, to time a good snowfall and to make the trip and to kind of have all of it work out, it definitely adds a bit of complexity there. But we'll keep an eye on it and see what we can do.
Definitely, it'd be nice to even like know of a cat in an area that's in an like, you know what I mean? Especially if there's a few kills in there.
Yeah,
on that way I can be like, okay, I'm pretty confident there's one in here. So if we could coordinate it where you come down and be like, okay, this is, you know what I mean? This is where we could focus our attention.
Yeah. And that's kind of why, like, I like listening to your progression in this too, because admittedly, like I don't know a lot about cat hunting or what's involved in hounds. All I knew, like I said in the very beginning, was that it's a lot of work, and it seems to be proving that that's the case. And, I think that's good. I mean, it'd be kind of almost like anticlimactic. Like, when we went on our sheep hunt, it's like if we would have got a sheep in the first one, it's kind of like, I don't think any of us in the back of our heads, we kind of were hoping it wasn't going to work out that way.
Yeah.
I mean, we would take it, don't get me wrong, but
Oh, for sure.
and it's kind of like that with this too, is like, it's nice to kind of follow along and get a bit of an understanding of like, what does it actually take to do this stuff? Because I think that's part of the problem in like with the social license conversations and like, just people that are they're non-hunters, right? They don't really understand what's involved.
Oh, definitely.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's good. A lot of folks, even hunters, I don't think understand really what's involved in this style of hunting. So yeah, we'll keep following you on this. It's really cool.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, it's a struggle. And I can see why. Like, I know me and you were talking, we were texting there back and forth about ATVs. Now I totally see why people use like a snowmobile or a side-by-side, right? Just to find tracks to put their dogs on, because
right
when you're out hiking the mountains, as opposed to, or even like just running your pickup truck with a dog box in the back, like just for practice with the dogs, like that's the other thing. You're not always out there killing stuff. It's just, you're out there running the dogs to get them trained and get them used to what you want to do. Right. Like, but I mean, like, just to find those fresh tracks, what you got to go through just to get them. So like that's a massive hurdle. And that's something I'm learning right now. It's like, all I want it to do is just find anything I can set the dogs out on.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, ATV maybe in the future, possibly. Yeah. I would, maybe with snow tracks. I don't know if that's the right solution or not, but definitely some means of transportation.
Yeah, that's it's a tool I've been looking into a little bit more as well. I think it would be great to have, from a scouting perspective, I think the style of hunting that you and I and Mike like to do is generally more the, hiking, backcountry, camping, spending overnight, that type of thing. And I don't think, I'm not sure what your thoughts are. I don't think we're going to change that overall, but it would be nice to kind of have some tools like that to explore some new areas. Like, I was talking to my wife today, actually, and the one thing that is also stressful to me with regards to hunting is bringing vehicles into the backcountry. You know what I mean? Especially when you're not aware. Like, say you're going into a new area, and you're going to say, okay, I'm going to go like 40, 60 kilometers back in, I just want to do some scouting. I want to see what's back there. Or even like, maybe it's even a hunting situation. You want to get back there and you want to hike up and do like some type of pitch a tent on a ridge for a night or something.
Yeah.
I just feel like when you're using your truck for some of those things, and you're not, maybe you don't have the skills to, or the equipment to kind of get you out, and maybe you should, but, I find that is a very stressful part of hunting. For me, is just, worrying about getting stuck, worrying about if the weather's going to change on the truck. A lot of the roads are like washed out, or you're kind of on this like cliff face, or, a lot of that's pretty sketchy stuff. So I feel like an ATV for certain situations can be a little more flexible on that regard. So I'm kind of looking into that a little bit too.
I totally agree. And that, like, for ATV with tracks, I was thinking, well, I can use it all year round.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be the best solution to hunt cats with, but at least I can use it for the same purposes that you're talking about there. Like, we can go out into these areas without beating up your $60,000, $70,000 truck. I mean, I don't personally have a beater truck that I can take into these spots. And a lot of these areas, like you're talking about, Kelly, are exactly that. They're either washed out or they're overgrown. So you're really putting the hard time on your vehicles when you get into some of these spots.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we all know the cons with ATVs too. Like, there's a lot of roads, and there's a lot of, folks that maybe are going into spots they shouldn't with their ATVs, and we wouldn't want to encourage that. But like, there's definitely a time and a place, I think, for a lot of these things. There's a time and a place for a boat when you're hunting, and there's time and a place for an ATV, and a time and a place for a truck, and and then ultimately a time and a place for your boots, which hopefully gets you just that extra edge.
Yeah, it's like you're saying, you're not abusing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of another tool in the toolbox. A way to get further is kind of what I'm thinking. But yeah, man, that's awesome. On the note of cats and social license and that type of thing, we've noticed even recently, like Mike and I, and even I believe with yourself as well, we've talked about social media, hunting pictures, and just how we as hunters tell the story. And when we start looking at cat hunting, you've kind of been following a lot more of that crowd, in social media. And it seems like, depending on the media they post, they get a lot harsher response.
Oh,
from some folks.
You flip through the comments, and some of that stuff's pretty aggressive. And a lot of it's like, well, why are you following these people in the first place? And I know this topic, it's been talked about a lot, but yeah, you're right. I think whenever you have hounds and cats and stuff like that, and I think the image can be twisted, especially when you're trying to capture the whole thing in one shot, one single picture, and putting it on social media. Like it's a tricky subject, man. And like some of these feeds that I'm a part of, they're on social media and I follow, it's because I appreciate, I understand what they're doing too. Mm-hmm. But then, like sometimes, like what you're saying, like some of these pictures that I think sometimes, I'm going to say it, man, I think there's a line there. And I think most hunters know where that line is. And when you cross it there, it's like that image that you're portraying in the hunting eye. It's not extremely, I got to be careful what I say here, man.
It's not helpful.
It's not helpful. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I've been seeing it lately too, like you said, because it's obviously, it's the season for hunting mountain lions, but especially for those people who don't fully understand what all goes into it, like we just discussed. So it's a tough one. Myself personally, if I was successful in harvesting a cat, I would be very conscious about how I portray that image. And because I would, like, I like seeing that kind of stuff. Like, I'm all for it. Like, I love hunting. That's why we're doing this. So the pictures that I do take, I want to be respectful. And ultimately, I don't want to lose this privilege to hunt mountain lion or any species for that matter. So, it's kind of what we're trying to get across, right? And I'm always trying to think like, okay, how am I haven't even been successful at even finding a mountain, and that I'm still thinking about like, how will I take this image and how are we going to put it on our social media platform, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think the most important thing, and my thought at least is at least in the history of Rookie Hunters, we've always tried to tell the story. So whether it was, hares or fish or deer or elk or whatever, like, just really, less focus on the end result and a lot of equal focus on the beginning, the middle, and the end, and even right to the plate.
Yes.
And I think if you could tell that full story, then it's much more acceptable to the general public, I think. So I think if we handle it that way, it's I think that's kind of how all of us have to handle this and as hunters. So that's a good point.
I agree totally. And not to point fingers or anything, but some of these, like, I won't get into it, but just the one thing I want to speak to, like even hunters, some people even who are hunting upland game with dogs, and they are not behind hunting cats with hounds. And I was like, oh, that's kind of confusing. Like, it's kind of more or less the same thing if you think about it. Mm-hmm. So I think it all comes down to that, like you're saying, like that full story. If you can tell a full story and how you portray it, if you are successful when you harvest, then I think it's a little bit more well received.
Yeah, I think so. Man, I think you hit the word with privilege too, because, you know, a lot of that's not a word. A lot of people have the attitude that, you know, it's my right and too bad. I don't care if people don't like it. But here's the thing.
Yeah, rub it in
Is
your
it-
face.
Well, yes, but also, is it your right to still hunt grizzly bears? Because that was taken away.
And
So I think privilege is a better word than right, because, you know, at the end of the day,
yeah,
you know, it comes down to what the people, what the ultimate like general population thinks and what they vote for and who's in power and all that stuff. So
Oh,
like,
definitely.
We got to be careful and tell the story the right way.
and man, would I love to go out and hunt grizzly bear again? Like that's something I never got to do, and I would love to do it.
Yeah.
So
Well, the thing is, and you know, I think the hunting community overall, it's, you know, we've tried to say that we hunt and eat these things, and you know, the black bear that I have right beside me here, like that was, you know, dozens and dozens of bear sausage and, you know, I'm trying to think of the vindaloo and like all these things that we did with the bear meat. And, you know, it's the same thing with grizzly bear. Like they're all bears.
oh yeah,
You know, it's the same. So, you know, and I know that's what the BC Wildlife Federation and a lot of these other groups were all trying to say, and there's tons of science, but like that, it's a perfect example, because even with all that information, it still got shut down due to like an emotional response, right? So, you know, when we talk about cats and trapping and all these things, you know, sometimes I think we can be our own worst enemy, but we've said that before.
definitely. And like you're saying, like harvesting an animal, I know that from our perspective, to harvest the animal, number one is to eat it.
Yep.
So even me talking about these hounds and going through the experience, like if I get a bobcat or lynx up a tree, I wouldn't shoot it because I don't know what to do. Maybe, I mean, I could research into be eating it, but I haven't really gone that far.
Mhm.
This whole intentions with these hounds was to chase mountain lion, and like, because all I've heard is endless things about how good it tastes, and there's all these different recipes and that. So that's kind of where I stand on this, is in terms of eating and food. So I mean, all my hunting has been like that.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing with like the addition on the cat side is just that whole lifelong relationship with the dogs. Like it's kind of like your horses too.
Definitely.
I mean, that's a partnership that, I mean, that's a lot of work and a lot of years and a lot of, there's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Very valid points for sure. Hey, I got another question for you, because you sent me a picture of a deadhead, and not a Grateful Dead fan, but like a dead antler skull.
Yeah. Jerry Garcia.
Yeah, like a big, it was an elk, a monster elk deadhead that you'd found.
Yeah.
And, you know, we started chatting a little bit about this, and it's something that I don't think a lot of people understand, but like you need a permit for that, right?
That's right. And that's something I didn't know about either until people kind of got a hold of me and said, hey, you should probably, you know, ask some questions. So I did. I just went straight to the CO. That's actually a good topic, Kelly, because I didn't know anything about this. And I stumbled upon this thing, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, I can't, this thing's a prize. I can't just leave this thing here. Like it's,
Mm-hmm.
well, we'll put some pictures up once, if everything goes through. But this thing, I was like, I got to bring this home. It's unreal. And you're right. I did. I got a hold of CO, and he kind of walked me through the whole procedure. And he's like, okay, well, you got to bring it in. You got to bring it in. We're going to fill out some paperwork, and it's a permit. And then they have it right now. So they hold on to it. And then this goes, the paperwork and all the forms that I filled out there.
Mm-hmm.
It gets submitted to whoever there, and then I got to wait for approval. Like it comes with a tracking number and all that stuff. So, so I got to wait for all this to come through. And then I'm glad that I went through these steps, because I had no idea. And then now, especially doing this rookie hunter, and then, I mean, I love seeing other people's pictures too of like animals they've harvested or anything, like they find like sheds or all that. So it's just doing the right thing. So me and you are, if we have this on our feed that it's, everything is legit. And then this way now I can go get them scored and that, because man, this deadhead, this elk is a monster.
Nice. Yeah, we should put a photo up of that thing, because it's just cool to see some big antlers. But my understanding is that all the provinces and territories in Canada allow shed hunters to collect and keep shed antlers. So if you're strolling around the bush and you pick up antlers that were naturally cast away by the animal, that essentially means the animal is still alive somewhere, right? So you picked up these antlers. You can take those. You don't need a permit for those. But if that animal, say, instead of shedding his antlers, he died, and all that was left the next season was his skull and antlers sitting there, if you take that, that's what you need a permit for. And I believe it has to do with, protecting situations where people can shoot something and then, leave the meat and then come back and take the antlers and traffic them and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, it's one of those rules that I believe is, we were chatting about this. I think it's in the Wildlife Act, not necessarily the hunting regulations, but I get the sense that this may not be fully understood across the hunting community, and just thought we should mention it on the show. If you have any questions, talk to your CEO.
Yeah, give them a call. Yeah, the first form they gave me was it's a certification of wildlife specimens. So I filled that out first. And then once that was all written up, like you got to give your name, and then the seal puts his information on there. And then they kind of they ask you where you picked it up, like what's the closest named creek and all that. And then they give you another one, what's a fish and wildlife application that has your tracking number on there. So you can track this thing and see the progress of it, what it's going through.
Nice.
But like you said, if you're ever uncertain about stuff like that, definitely call it in, see what steps you have to go through.
Definitely. Another topic for this show that we can get into. I don't know if I mentioned this previously, but I'm kind of looking at a new pair of boots.
Ooh, there goes the bank account, eh?
Boots aren't cheap.
Oh, boots aren't cheap. Oh, yeah, the boots that we like aren't cheap.
Yeah, exactly. So, let's start with maybe why I'm looking for new boots, because for folks that have followed the podcast, maybe they know what I've been running, and I haven't necessarily had a lot of problems with them. For the most part, I've been very happy with them. They're Loa Tibet GTX, not the highs, but just the normals, normal height. And those things are pretty rock solid, man. Like they're stiff, on a scale of 1 to 5, they're probably 4 in there, like on the top end. Full leathers, kind of heavy a little, I think they're 4 pounds, 7 ounces together, which is pretty up there in terms of weight. But yeah, man, just rock solid. The issues I have are, I feel like the boots, and more so now, and I don't know what happened. I don't know, maybe my foot has flattened out a little bit, or maybe the boots have shrunk a little bit. They are leather, so they can shift a little. But I feel like I may have bought them a little too close to the actual size. I feel like I probably should have added a half size. So when I'm coming down hills, I really notice the need to like curl my toes in, because they're just kind of slamming against the front. And it's, I've got my laces super tight. I've got everything cinched down, but it's like my toes are kind of already there. They're kind of already up front. And just like that extra little millimeter or two, I can just, it just causes me a little trouble. The other thing is they've wetted out a couple times in the last year. And I don't know, this may be more of I've been running Nick Wax on my boots consistently. And I do that at least a couple times a year, but I'm almost wondering if I shouldn't be running a leather conditioner first. And then, or at least once in a while, like maybe once a year or something, like doing a bit of a conditioner on them and then putting the Nick Wax on top, because I kind of feel like I may have either, dried out the leather a bit, or I'm just, I was running them through wet grass for the whole day and just saturated them out. And maybe that was inevitable. Maybe it would have happened with the new set of boots too. I'm not sure, but my expectation is, I should be able to walk a day in wet grass and not be soaking wet at the end of the day, right through my socks. But what's your experience on that front?
Well, like getting into boots, like I put boots up there as probably one of the most important things you can have on you.
I agree.
From my perspective.
Yeah.
So all this homework all this information you've compiled together is like, those are the kind of questions you should be going over. And every time you go out, like you get a bad pair of boots, man, that'll ruin a hunt. You can get away with other pieces of equipment, but when your boots are shot, man, that throws such a wrench into your day. It's the worst.
It does, yeah.
And
I haven't totally given up on these boots. I do think that I'm going to try some conditioning and things. But the one thing that's kind of setting me over the edge is kind of that sizing issue and the fact that, if I don't have my nails and my socks dialed before I hunt the next day, like that's how close the sizing is. So, I'm kind of looking at, fitting myself a little better this time. You know what? I've grown up skiing and I'm used to buying boots that are very fitted and like almost to the point where they want you to, barely have a spot for your toes. And that's just how I grew up fitting boots. And I think I, kind of went that direction a bit with the hunting boots, kind of more so than I should have. So it's worked, but I kind of feel like my foot maybe is flat or got a little longer here and over the last 6 years carrying a pack around.
Well, like it's so, I find that it's difficult when you get into it because there's so much to choose from. And especially if you're in a place where you can't just go and try on all these different boots, you're reading all these, you know what I mean? You're going, well, if you're like us, you're going to read all the reviews and all the specs on them. And of course they're going to make it out like it's the best thing. You got to have them, but you got to go there and try them on. You got to try them on. They got to fit well. Agree. And the hardest part is like the boot that you're describing that you have, it almost sounds like it. I mean, it does sound like it's a mountaineering boot. So it's going to be stiff out of the gate. And those things take, from what I learned from the ones I have, the mountaineering boots, they take a while to break in.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you go into a store and the guy's not talking just another language to you that you don't understand, and you're putting these things on and all you really care about is how they fit, like, like once you get above that price point that they're going to be a pretty decent boot, but they got to fit well. And then you got to think, hey, I still got to break these things in. And that's going to take some, like it took a while for me to break in my boots. So I can only imagine what it took to break in those ones, Kelly.
Yeah. I know you're running Scarpas. I don't know what brand or what model you have, but I know they can get pretty stiff too. But they make a variety of boots, obviously. And Loa does too. These ones are definitely in that, you can sheep hunt with them category. With a heavy pack.
Well, see,
they're not the stiffest you can get, but they're up there.
Yeah, and like that's my thing. Like I don't have a boot for every different style of hunting.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I'm not,
and very rarely do people have that.
Yeah, like I would have a small fortune footwear. Like so, the boot I have is not those. So if we're just talking, like if we have the same boot, if me and you go hunt on just regular flat land, like it's overkill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mine too. Well, like, mine, I can do pretty well, but it's definitely on the overkill side for sure. So what I was looking into in terms of shopping, and maybe this will help folks that are kind of going through the same process, but kind of looking at a few key, headings or topics. One is stiffness. So from a stiffness perspective, I was kind of still leaning in that, if it's a scale of 5, kind of still leaning around that 4 range.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Only because like, I feel like most of the hunting we're doing, we are like, there's very rarely a day where I go out where I don't have like 30 or, 30 pounds at least on my back.
Right.
Like when we have the water and the spotter and the,
camera gear
and your camera gear and your clothes, and like I always have my rain gear. It's pretty easy to get up to 30 pounds. And then obviously the terrain in BC for what we're doing, like generally I'm hunting muley, and it's quite rocky and steep, and in a way a lot of that terrain can get pretty similar to a sheep hunt or a goat hunt, not extremely, but lots of rocky stuff. And so I don't mind a stiff boot, so I was kind of keep it in that 4 range. The other thing was material, and I kind of lean to full leather uppers.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of synthetic options out there right now, and to be honest, it's kind of pulling me in that direction, like the Hanwag, Ferratas, and I think there's something like the Alderstone or something like that. These models that are near half or near full synthetic.
Right.
I believe the advantage would be, they dry out very quickly. You could probably dry them out in camp if they got wet. Whereas with, leathers, you'd almost have to bring them home and put them on a boot rack for a day or two. So there's definitely an advantage there. But, I think it goes back to resources and cost, man, because, I'm ultimately looking for a boot that's going to last me. I've had the Tibets for 6 seasons, and I could probably keep running them as long as that water issue isn't, a damage issue and less a condition issue.
But it'll always be in your head, like if you're going on a big hunt, you want, like, I have a pair of Sportivas there that are older, and I have the same issue, Kelly. Like, they leak. If I put any kind of, if it's raining out, I'm the same thing. Like, my feet will be soaked if I walk through grass, and I won't take them. I'll take them on like a normal dry, easy walking day, because I know they fit amazing and I can put the miles on them. But for like a go-to boot for an expedition, like, you want something that's, if not, but close to bomb-proof.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I struggle. I don't want to make the Tibet seem like they're not a good boot, because I think they're one of the best. It's just like, this is 6th year and I'm just starting to have these leaking issues. So, I think overall that's pretty good depending on how much you're using them. And, we've used them quite a bit. So, but yeah, you're right. When it's in the back of your head that you might have a leak problem and you're planning a sheep hunt, like, this doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, I won't even give those Sportivas even Sportiva's unreal, don't get me wrong. And it's not like I'm going with what works here on this. They would work, but it's just because they leak and they're so, like, they're old.
Yeah, it's almost a safety issue.
Yeah, it's a safety issue. When I first got them, they're unreal, but they just got the miles on them. I guess, I don't know, maybe after certain, if you get that amount of miles on them, maybe that's kind of the norm. They will go this far and then that's it. They're done. Maybe it's just time for new boots.
Material, I'm not quite set on at this point. I think I could probably swing either way right now. If there's a really good synthetic option that I feel has the durability, I might still go that way. So I'll have to keep you posted there. Height is another one. And I kind of like to be around that 8-inch range. Like, I kind of feel like lower is, almost you need a gaiter in every situation.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, once you start getting higher, it's like, well, now you're packing around like an extra, who knows how much weight, right? Yeah. Like, I think there's a lot of folks that love the 10-inch and up hunting boots, which I'm sure I would too from a support perspective, but I just don't know if I'm willing to compromise on the, flinging that weight around all day.
Yeah, lugging those around, especially if you're walking through mud or any bog that's sticking to your boots.
Yeah, exactly. Well, fit and width is something that, that's going to be personal to everybody. So I guess don't, lock yourself into one brand because you read a review and somebody said they were the best, and then you kind of go in there making the brand fit your foot. Like, that's a recipe for disaster.
Definitely. And I think, if I could say, like, especially where I live, like, I guess I have a few outfitting stores close to me that you could, but like, usually I'll go on there and see what they have and see what the stores next to them have. So if I go out and do, like, try them on, I'll go hit them all up and then I'll think about it. I'll have, like, the intentions, like, hey, I'm going to buy some boots. Then I'll do my research of who's selling what in the area.
Yep.
And then I'll kind of just do a circuit. I'll try them all on, and then I won't buy any. I'll go home and think about it for a while. And
Yeah.
then, you know what I mean? Even go back out and try them on again. I mean, that's how I bought my last pair of boots.
Yeah, you kind of need some like incubation time to just not get pressured into something, right? Like, I don't know about if it's a common thing, but you know, when you're there and you're excited about getting something, and you kind of just sometimes make bad decisions.
Oh, so totally.
I'm trying to think of some other aspects here. Insulation. What's your thoughts on insulation?
Mine are insulated.
Yeah?
So, yeah,
Do you know how much?
I'm not certain how much it is, but they are. It's very minimal. It's not like I wouldn't say
Probably 200 or something.
Yeah, I'd say it around there. The other one I was sorry, Kelly, I was going to say about soles, where I thought my boots were the newer ones I have now. I was like, man, these things aren't fitting me, like you said. And then I went on to, I started researching it, and everyone's like, oh, you got to change the insole. Like, so I went out and bought some different insoles, and it was like, I wouldn't say it was a huge changer, but it definitely made a difference. It helped. Like good insoles. Yeah.
It's almost a necessity. Like getting some super feed or cheap feed or whatever brand you want.
Yeah.
Definitely. I totally agree with that. I have the same problem. There's very rare a shoe or a boot or a ski boot I can wear without switching the insoles. It's almost like part of the total purchase price of just, including that.
Oh, from now, from now on, I will buy insoles when I get the boots. But back to your insulation, Are you going to buy some with insulated or?
Well, so the Tibet that I have is non-insulated, although it's the full leather and it does run a little warm. I've actually never had an issue. We've said previously that we're not really stand hunters.
Yeah.
So, I'm not sitting in a stand, and if I was, I'd probably wear a different set of boots, but I'm super confident with those Tibets going into winter, man. Like I run them spring bare. I run them hiking in the summer. Admittedly, they're pretty warm for that, but not to the point where I'm not having fun out there. You got to dial in your liner sock combination just to make sure and your lacing just to make sure you don't get like heat related blisters. But if you could figure that out, like, yeah, they run hot, but it's doable. And then once I'm into hunting season, it's great. And, I can run them right through rifle end of November, right into like even December. So if I want to take the bow out, so I'm always moving. That's the thing. Like they're leather and I'm always moving. So I have never needed insulation, and I'm kind of leaning to an uninsulated boot again.
Which
I'm
is
almost more worried about my feet getting too warm than the other way around.
Oh, you're lucky. That's good.
Yeah.
And I guess
everybody's different for sure. Like a lot of folks are like, oh man, my feet get cold easy. So that's, I seem to be in the other camp, I think.
Oh, I have horrible circulation feet.
Yeah.
But like if you're getting that much mileage out of your foot, if you go in it with those type of intentions, like if you can get that much mileage of what you just said out of a boot, that's what you should be aiming for.
Almost like in the back of my mind, I really wish I wasn't dealing with this leakage issue. That's doubting me a little bit, because
I know it sounds like you found the ones.
Well, what I would do is probably just buy the Tibets, but it's just half size bigger this time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
totally.
But and maybe that's still, an option. I'm not ruling it out, but I'm in the position, so I might just do like a market search, and then I might end up back where I am.
Yeah, you're lucky where you live. What's some other brands that you have researched?
Yeah, so Hanwag is kind of the other one that I'm looking at a lot. The Alaska is quite similar to the Tibet, but they have a lot of good of those synthetic options, and that's something that's kind of tweaking my interest a little bit. And then there's a couple other brands, like Scarpa's one that I never count out just because they're such a renowned brand, and they know what they're doing. And Salewa is another one that I've kind of
yeah.
I've heard good things. The one thing that concerns me a bit with those boots is I don't think they're not high enough. I don't think I know there's a lot of guys in the States that are running mule deer and early season and bows and all that, and they're raving about some of these boots, but I do worry a little bit about up in BC, and like we said, trying to stretch the timeline of how you can apply these boots across seasons.
Yeah.
So, if you can buy 2 sets of boots, then awesome. Buy a trapper, or a high Tibet for, the winter and the late season, and then buy a, Salewa lightweight to like rip around in the early season. That'd be best case scenario. So
that would work for me. But
exactly. It'll look good on the shelf too.
Yeah.
But probably not in the cards for most folks. So, I think for the most part, a lot of hunters, especially rookie hunters, are going to get put in a situation where they have to find a boot that kind of stretches across seasons. And it seems to me like the sticking with that full leather option is probably the safest route in terms of durability and versatility.
Yeah.
Something with the full rand on it. I'm thinking Hanwag, Alaskas or Yukons, crispy Nevadas, are the ones I have, the Tibets, Loas, something like that.
Can you get Crispies over there in the Okanagan?
Yes, we have a local dealer here.
Nice.
So I'm going to try those as well. I know they have some various options. The Brickstall is another one that I've been looking at, a little more mountaineering style.
Yeah.
But a little more lightweight too. So like that would be nice. I mean, they say a pound on your foot is 5 on your back. So, I don't want to underestimate the possibility of saving a little bit of weight there, but I also don't want to give up a ton of durability. And you brought up soles in terms of insoles, but also the sole that's on the bottom of the boot.
Yeah.
Some of these soles that you buy, if they're not made for actual hunting, then they can wear out like in a couple seasons.
Oh, really?
So, I don't want to end up buying a boot that, has a sole like the Tibet sole and the Alaska, the Hanwag sole, like those soles, man, those things are tough. They last a long time, but you might get into this other kind of boot that's it's a little more mountaineering, but it's lightweight and stuff. And then all of a sudden the sole disappears in a couple seasons.
I'd be choked.
I don't want to really get into that situation either. So there's a lot of considerations.
The one thing that I never do pay attention to out of all this stuff is tread. I never pick up a boot and go, this tread's not going to work for me. This is not going to happen. I never, I hit all those points that you just listed. And then sometimes I'll flip the boot over, just make sure there's tread there. But I never look at a tread pattern and go, oh yeah, that's not going to cut it.
Yeah. It's not like a truck. It's not like you can just put, KO2s on it after.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you do that. If you check out tread pattern, sometimes I just I'm like, oh, okay, it's got a vibrant sole. So
that's all I knew up to this point. To be honest, I've been paying more attention now, but yeah, totally. I just thought Vibram sole, like, oh, that's what you need. But there is variation even within the Vibram sole. So
yeah,
totally.
That's a good point about the hunting ones. Though I didn't know that one's specifically built for hunting. I mean, it makes sense now that you say it.
Yep.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll throw in quickly just on boots. Go Hunt, the webpage.
Yeah.
They have a store on footwear and it's actually pretty handy, man. Like you can kind of filter boots by the stiffness and they have their own scale. So if you just want to have a resource to kind of look at certain boots in a category of stiffness and they kind of explain what their scale is and what each number means, you can go in there and just get a sense. I mean, they don't have all the brands, but you can kind of get a sense on what boots kind of fit in what category. And, you might avoid a mistake where you buy a level 5 boot for a level 3 use. Just familiarize yourself with that. If you're in the market for boots, it might give you an idea. It's helped me a little bit. So yeah, man, that's all I have for boots at this point. But, I totally agree with you. It's one of the most important things we can buy. And it's the only thing that's going to get you back to the truck if you need to get there.
Definitely.
So, it's a thread maybe we can follow along in the new year here. If I do move to a new pair of boots, I'll let folks know what I ended up with.
Yeah. And like, even when you buy the boot, with your intentions of hunt. Like if you're just strictly hunting the fall, right? You want to have those suckers broke in before fall hunting kicks off. Or if you're sheep hunting in August or whatever, wherever you live, whenever sheep hunting starts, you're going to want those broken in.
Yep, exactly. Hey, we've covered a lot of time tonight, Garrett. There's one thing I should have mentioned up front in the podcast, but Sheep Week starts next week, the Wild Sheep Foundation, which we talked about in the last episode. But I wanted to, I was looking at sheepweek.org, which people can go to check out some information, get your tickets and all that type of stuff. The prize originally, when we talked about this, and all paid registered attendees are applicable to win this prize. It's a 2021-2022 free-range Sonora Desert Bighorn hunt valued at $65,000. So anybody that buys a ticket to attend is entered to win that, which is awesome. But I noticed today, and I don't know when they added these prizes, but also anybody that signs up to attend the show is entered to win a Gunworks Climber rifle system in 6.5 PRC, which is pretty huge prize. And then they also added a second hunt. So this is a 2022-2023 Yukon Stone Sheep Hunt valued at $55,000. So they went from one prize to three, and they're all pretty amazing. So just wanted to mention that to folks, and it's coming quick. So get your tickets, and we'll maybe see you there interactively.
Yeah, those are unreal prizes. I think that Gunworks is like what, 10 grand US.
Yeah,
definitely. They make some nice guns. 2 sheep hunts, man. They know how to make prizes, or they know how to give out prizes there. That's for sure.
Definitely. Cool. Well, it was good touching base with you, Gare. It's been a little while here. Hope you had a break over the holidays.
Yeah.
But we'll touch base again this month, and maybe chat a little bit about how the horses are doing too. And,
sounds good.
We'll plan out our turkey and bear as well.
Sounds good, Kelly.
Okay, cool, bud.
Good chatting, man.
Good chat. Cheers.
Cheers.
There you have it. Episode 130. We'll be back in a couple weeks with another episode. You guys can expect these more regularly now, especially with me off the show. But hope you guys dig it. If you want to help the show, you can head over to iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from. Leave a rating review. That stuff helps us out. So go over there, do that. You can also head over to the website, rookiehunter.com. All kinds of good stuff up there to keep you entertained in between. And man, we got 130 episodes. So if you're new to the show, you can obviously go back and listen to old stuff. But everything is there, the rookiehunter.com. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Cheers.